In the main, Nintendo doesn't try to milk its franchises for every drop of cash they can wring out. While other franchises like FIFA prior to their parting with EA, or Call of Duty, and even dear old Pokemon see releases that are routine almost to a fault, it's not uncommon for Zelda and Mario fans to go the better part of a decade without a mainline entry to entertain them on the dark winter evenings. Indeed, the latest 2D Mario and Zelda games marked 11 years since an original entry in their respective corners of their franchises. Also, each game type is unique. Each franchise has its own bespoke and honed characteristics and stands alone. And yet, there are a few flexible formats that Nintendo do like to use again and again, plugging them into different franchises to create something new and exciting. I'm calling them Nintendo's flexible formats, and we're going to look at the 5 major flexible formats Nintendo has at their disposal and the potential futures for each of them. Let's start with the most prolific of the last 5 years, 99 games. We've had 99 versions of Tetris, Pac-Man and F-Zero, as well as the time-limited Super Mario Bros. 35. It seems difficult to imagine that developers Arika won't be hard at work on more titles in this series, and indeed I'd put it at a 70% chance that we will see another 99 title in the next 3 years. That's by the end of 2027, albeit not necessarily with the 99 numbering. A Super Mario Bros. 40 for the 40th anniversary of the original Super Mario Bros. Game might make a lot of sense, for example. Other prime possibilities include Dr. Mario. With almost every Mario franchise in existence having launched on Switch, it's a job to know what's left for Nintendo to try. There are a few Mario sports untouched, Mario Paint is due a comeback, and there's always the Mario DDR titles, but perhaps the most likely option is to revive the good Doctor with Dr. Mario 99. Dr. Mario World on mobile is practically begging to be adapted, and a 99 twist might be just the thing to revive the Doctor's fortunes, although this would make it more likely to be a feature game on NSO rather than a for sale title, though it's hard to imagine how even Nintendo could push a full price Dr. Mario sequel at this point, especially when it's already available on NSO. Still, there are broader 99 opportunities. It seems to me that this is the perfect way to resurrect some of their classic Famicom franchises. Duck Hunt might not have quite the broad appeal these days, but there are still plenty of franchises worth a tilt. Balloon Fight 99, anyone? One of the first titles Satoru Iwata worked on for Nintendo was the NES pinball title, and while I don't expect Nintendo to do anything public of this nature to mark the 10th anniversary of his passing, a 99 version of pinball would be quite fun. But what about something more ambitious? It's difficult to imagine Kirby, Zelda or Metroid getting too much of a 99 flavour. It worked for Mario, of course, but perhaps if there is a Super Mario Bros. 35 sequel, it should not be based on the 1985 title, but on Super Mario World. Still, the one thing that might make for an interesting anniversary title may not be Mario at all, but Pokemon. The original Pokemon games have yet to be released on NSO, and perhaps that's because the Pokemon Company sees too much value in a re-release. But while they have already done 2 full remakes of the Gen 1 originals, and for all I know they may have many more Kanto versions ahead, what if they were to release just a version of the originals with widescreen play and some extra features such as the ability to enter a Battle Royale knockout tournament online? Reselling 3 decades old Game Boy games seems like something both the Pokemon Company and Nintendo would aspire to do, but it's also a massive stretch to justify in terms of value. But an innovative twist like this could make charging $30 still outrageous, but just about justifiable. However, it's not just 99 games that offer a lot of potential for Nintendo. Another reliable standby is Warriors titles. Hyrule Warriors opened this genre up to Nintendo crossover potential in 2014, and then Fire Emblem Warriors continued the trend in 2017. Both of these titles were successful enough to have sequels, but we're now at the point where enough time has passed that a new Nintendo Warriors tie-in surely has to be considered. Some seem more obvious fits than others. Xenoblade Chronicles has long been suggested as an option for a Warriors title, and it certainly fits the style with lots of great sword action. My caution here is that the Monolith Soft team seem to keep a pretty tight hold on the reins of the story of their games, while Amiga Force are more interested in mashing everything together purely to please fans. In this sense, I wouldn't necessarily expect a Xenoblade Chronicles title that does anything more than superficially tilt at canonicity. After all, Age of Calamity had a perfect place to slot into canon, and it didn't. Something that I personally found quite disappointing, even though I do appreciate it would have given quite a downer ending to the game. Nevertheless, Xenoblade Chronicles has to be a leading contender to become Xenoblade Warriors. Apart from that, almost any Nintendo title has the theoretical potential. Metroid would work, but Metroid is already a niche franchise. Kirby can equip almost any weapon, and you'd certainly get a good range of characters. Even Mario has often been discussed, and it's been a while since Mario has stepped into a whole new genre. Not since 2017's Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, I think. Pokemon would be a particular favourite. It would make sense, given that Pokemon used to have a very wide variety of spin-off titles on the handheld devices. These days, the smaller titles are mostly reserved for mobile, but apart from the mainline games, the Pokemon Company does try to keep its hand in with secondary titles. The Switch has seen Pokemon Tournament DX, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, New Pokemon Snap, and Detective Pikachu Returns. Still, with the additional demands of developing for an HD and soon a 4K system, the Pokemon Company need some reliable developers to step up, and plugging the Pokemon into a Warriors-style game would make all the sense in the world. Another big possibility, in fact the really big one, is Super Smash Bros. Masahiro Sakurai has a very tight grip on the reins of the core series, but if he needed a little more time to get his ducks in a row on the 6th Smash title, Nintendo could try their hand at commissioning a Super Smash Warriors title. With the games already having a compelling narrative and the huge range of characters, this would undoubtedly be the biggest Warriors entry yet, both in scope and I would expect in sales. The question is, could Sakurai-san remain hands-off even for a spin-off, or would he want to step into something with his Smash name on and get into the details of how the villains are launched and how Master Hand appears? Perhaps Nintendo could simply do a Nintendo Warriors title rather than Smash Warriors, but then the comparisons between a fighting mashup title and Smash might be difficult to avoid. I suspect it might be very difficult to align all Nintendo stars for a game like this, even though in the very, very long term it feels inevitable that we will eventually see a big Nintendo Warriors type showdown, just because it is such low-hanging fruit. Beyond Warriors titles though, let's look at another title which has yet to be turned into a franchise, but where the potential for it to be plugged into other types of Nintendo properties is huge. Ring Fit Adventure. The classic fitness sim combined innovative ring-based fitness gameplay with a world that mostly cannibalized assets from Breath of the Wild. What more could a Ring Fit franchise tie-in offer? Again, there are a lot of possibilities that could amuse. Playing as Mario or even Peach jogging around the Mushroom Kingdom could be pretty awesome. Not everything Nintendo does needs Mario's face on it, and I think they were quite content though to release the 2019 Ring Fit title as its own original franchise. But with the big push on Mario and the fact that Mario has never experienced a fitness game in its history, barring arguably DDR, I do think a mechanically similar but Mario-themed fitness adventure could be a lot of fun, especially if it's aimed at a more child-friendly audience. And of course, who could miss a bit of cardio with the Chozo? Metroid Fit Adventure, anyone? Donkey Kong would make a particularly appropriate one, with the need to swing from tree to tree physically. Still, I think there's one franchise which surely is an ideal fit for Ring Fit, and that is the franchise which loaned Ring Fit many of its assets in the first place, Zelda. Imagine jogging through the bright and wonderful world of Hyrule, enjoying the wonderful weather and views, but every now and then having to tear into some bokoblins using bicep-based exercise attacks. And what motivation to slim down if you get to send those Octoroks back to Kingdom Come. Truly, Ring Fit Zelda is the game I've been longing for ever since 2019, and with the outside success of the original title, and how simpatico Ring Fit's world and characters are with Zelda ones, I'm frankly surprised it's not happened before now. That said, my hunch is that if they do a fitness sequel for the new console, they won't want to clutter it with a franchise tie-in, so it may be a while before that possibility is there to be considered once again, but I for one would love to see it, and I'm sure Nintendo would benefit from being able to recycle many of the Zelda assets even more directly this time. Franchise style 4, and this is a more ambitious one, Maker titles. Super Mario Maker was absolutely huge on Wii U, but its sequel failed to quite capture the same buzz. Meanwhile, Nintendo has dipped their toe into Maker games elsewhere in smaller ways. Zelda Link's Awakening had a Dungeon Maker Challenge mode, which seemed like an attempt to see if a full-scale Zelda Maker could be of interest. Ultimately, I think the complexity of designing satisfying dungeons is even greater than designing a Mario level, and since Dompe's dungeon segments didn't exactly light the world on fire, I rather doubt we'll see the Zelda Maker idea revived anytime soon. Then there are titles like the wonderful Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, which have map editors built in. The title already features two of the greatest strategy games of all time, but the map editor just adds a little extra magic to proceedings. I know that Arlo has been hankering for a Pikmin map editor for eons, and if the last couple of years has taught us anything, it's that what the fuzzy blue monster wants, he gets, so don't count that option out. Although I still think Nintendo will stop short of a Pikmin editor game. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate also brought back the level designer, although its functionality is pretty limited, and it's a far cry from a Super Smash Bros. Maker, which I don't think would really work. In fact, there are many titles where editing levels might prove a little or a lot too complex. Metroid levels are too large and sprawling, and while a map editor would be feasible for Fire Emblem, it feels again unlikely that they would create their own game series for it. Still, if there is one franchise that is already huge, and where a Maker title might come roaring back into prominence, it is Mario Kart. Mario Kart could be huge fun, with a chance to put down all sorts of obstacles and draw tracks to menace your friends. I guess that the tracks would need to be designed in a kind of 2D mode, and then the game would have to turn this into a 3D experience for you. However, the potential to share infinite Mario Kart tracks would undoubtedly add to its long-term appeal, and it would be the perfect bridge game from the game being a fun whole family experience to being the kind of creative title that engages particularly children on their own in the way that Minecraft, Roblox and others do. I don't think it would nearly be as big as Mario Kart, what title is, but it would definitely shift major number of units nevertheless. But the last format I'd like to highlight is the Remix or World Championships format. NES Remix and its sequel plus Nintendo World Championships are different games, but the basic idea of remixing old levels stands the test of time, and the NES edition suffix to the previous game almost begs people to ask, when is the Super NES edition? What about the Game Boy edition or the N64 edition? And if they ever go for a GameCube edition, I think the seemingly 80% of the Nintendo YouTube community that entered gaming during the purple Parallelepiped's prime may explode with excitement. Of course, the more complex the technological standard of the system, the trickier adaptation may be. The NES has a history to it. I think a Game Boy version would depend almost exclusively on Nintendo's ability to license Tetris and Pokemon for that game. But Super NES seems like it would have a lot of potential. The fact that Super NES Remix never happened gives me pause, and perhaps Nintendo feel that Nintendo World Championships has done its part in filling one gap in the schedule until the new system roars onto the scene. But as someone who grew up in the 16-bit era, I have to admit that a title with mini challenges for the Super Nintendo has a really magical appeal to me in the way that the NES version of Nintendo World Championships just doesn't quite have. Heck, given this was the era of the console wars, why not make a Console Wars the game, with mini-games from both the Sega Mega Drive or Genesis and the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, blasting from Shinobi to Zelda, from Metroid to Sonic 2, from Streets of Rage to Super Mario World, and hopefully not failing to acknowledge the legendary Shining Force 2. Truly, this could be the crossover event to replace Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. Now those titles no longer seem to be in development. I don't think it's likely that Nintendo would want to bother with the licensing issues on a low-budget title though, and perhaps they wouldn't even want to acknowledge there was a console war of any sort. It's a pity though, because I for one would have a hoot with Console Wars the game. But do you have another franchise you would like to see as a 99, a Warriors, a Ring Fit, a Maker, or a remix title? Or is there another flexible format you would like to see deployed? Let me know in the comments. Big thank you to my Patreon supporters, and check out this video on screen for more. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time for another Nintendo Forecast.